Thank you so much, Brandon Pineda. Did I say that right, Brandon? Thank you and welcome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our last service of 2025. 2020, right? 2025 has been an interesting year. Bye-bye. Anyway, it is nice to see everybody this morning at Pacific Unitarian Church. Yep. For the beauty of this earth, this spinning blue-green ball, it is wonderful to gather together and experience what it is this community brings forth, which is open arms, welcoming arms, and a commitment to figure out what it is we're doing that we could do a little bit better every step of the way. Today is a day between our Christmas and New Year's celebrations, and it's nice to see everyone here. I hope your holidays are going well. Today we have childcare. If you have young children, we have a program called Spiritual Exploration and Education, and there are classes for your children. And there is childcare before the service and during the service. As well, there is lunch served out on the patio after services all the time by our food ministry, and the suggested donation for that is $5. If you have $5, great. If you don't have $5, please eat. If you have more than $5, okay, we'll take it. And I have a few announcements for you this morning. One of the announcements is I'm looking forward to February to give you guys time in advance. And while you're silencing your phones, you could access your calendar. First Friday of February, we went with alliteration for this one. It's our one and only completely UU holiday, Luminescence. And it's a lovely holiday. It's Friday. It involves lots of candles, lots of light, lots of thoughts about who we are and what we are. And also this year, it's going to be a little bit more fun in that there'll be some games and some things to do if we want to sit at tables and hang afterwards. So mark that on your calendar and please join us as we put this holiday on our agendas for the future. It's always hard to kick something off, so we need to do that together. Yoga. There is no yoga this Monday, the 29th. They will be back at 10 a.m. on January 5th. Also, the Yule log burn is scheduled for Saturday the 3rd, but so is rain. So that's a little tricky. So if it is raining, they will reschedule. So if you get the news blast, check it, because we usually kind of know midweek whether it's on or off. And if you don't get the news blast, sign up for the news blast. Also, since it is the end of the year, and I do hate to bring up money, however, our pledges are, thank you, for 2025 year. However, we need them in 2025 so that, they could close up the books and stuff. So if you would do what you can there based on whatever it was you committed, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, there's another family night here on January 9th, which is a Friday. Who's organizing that? Do we know? Jackie Geist. Yeah. Well, we just have game nights. That's awesome. I also have an auction item for a game night, so apparently we're into playing games. There's a game night here, and thank you, Jackie. Board games, there will be snacks. It starts at 7, and that's a great way to get to know each other in another kind of way. Please come. And also, there is the social justice movie coming up on January 2nd, Masaka Kids, A Rhythm Within. It looks to be a lovely film to come see. So if you're not busy on that evening, please join us. And I think that ends our announcements for today. Anybody have anything burning I forgot? Okay. So with that, we will light our chalice this morning. I found these beautiful chalice words. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning, everybody. All right, so great to see so many people here. I know a lot of people are out of town in between Christmas and New Year's, so I'm delighted that you all decided to join us here on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm Pastor Joshua, the minister here at PUC, and I just wanted to start this final service at the end of the year sort of with a ritual that leads us into the new year. Where am I doing it here? So I found this great ritual called Holding the Hope for Another. It was written by Erica Hewitt. And around the world, for many thousands of years, members of our human family have found ways to say, you are not alone. That's what we do here in this community. I say that almost every week, that we are here together. Others have journeyed to the place where you find yourself, and we journey with you now. Oh, I'm reading that. So our human family have found ways to say, you are not alone, that others have journeyed to the place where you find yourself, and we journey with you now. There are many ways for us to give one another strength and courage and love. So the slip of paper that's in your order of service is how one will do that ritual today. It's an exercise of care and of trust and of vulnerability. You can take part if you wish to take part. To name on paper a struggle in your life and the hope that lives inside you as you struggle. So don't write your name on the paper, but know that your hope will be read by someone else later in the service. So be aware of that, by someone other than you. So try to write as clearly as possible as well. You can use the back of the paper if you wish, but I encourage bravery enough to answer these two questions that are on the paper. In my life right now, I'm struggling with ... In that struggle, one thing I hope for is ... So as we go along, please write those things down on the paper, if you will. And after the joys and sorrows, we're going to exchange those papers, and other people will read them, and we'll continue the ritual process. I also wanted to point this out, my t-shirt, in case everyone's just staring at it going, what does that say? What does that say? And it's distracting. I was wearing it today, and I thought it would be meaningful during the service. Some other people expressed that it would be meaningful, so I kept it on rather than covering it up. But I bought it when we were protesting ICE. It was screen printed by an organization called CHIRLA, which is an immigrant support organization. And it says, no human is illegal in the Quiche language, which is a Mayan language that's spoken mainly in the highlands of Guatemala. So it's an indigenous South American language. Anyway, so you're not wondering what I'm wearing. With that, in Central America, I'm sorry, Central America. With that, please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 205, Amazing Grace. Oh, maybe. Well, are we doing Amazing Grace or Spirit of Life? Spirit of Life. I'm sorry. We switched them, and I didn't switch them in my notes. Spirit of Life is first. We'll do Amazing Grace later. Yes. Now, wait a minute. What do your programs say for the opening hymn? Okay. It says Amazing Grace, yeah. I was right the first time. Well, which one do you want to do, Alex? Whichever is easier for you. All right, there we go. Thank you. We'll go with the pop. Now we have our special guest, Lisa Seitz, to come up and do our moment for all ages. So any youth that are here or anyone that's young at heart, please come down.
Which is the celebration of Afro-Americans after their diaspora from Africa or Jamaica or wherever slaves were brought from. So this is a story about disagreement, and it's an African folktale. Hi, guys.
Hello, good morning.
Much like you were agreeing about the hymn.
Okay.
Test of a friendship. Long ago and far away, there were two good friends named Olaleye and Omoteji. Each had a farm directly across the footpath from the other, and day after day they would greet each other as they went about their work. Finally, their friendship raised a question in the heart of their wise neighbor, and he determined to test their friendship one for the other. Secretly, he made a hat for himself which was red on one side and green on the other. Then one day, after putting on his new hat, he traveled along the footpath. "Good morning," he greeted Omotehi as the good fellow bent over yams in his field. "Good morning," answered Omotehi, standing up to stretch himself from his bending. "I see you have a new red hat." "Oh, yes," answered the other. "I am happy that you noticed it." He set his new hat more firmly upon his head, and he walked on a long footpath, and Omoteji returned to his work. A few moments later, he saw Ole Aye pulling weeds in his yam garden. "Good morning, Olalaye," he called. Oyole looked up and returned the man's greeting. Then, "Oh ho," said he, "I see you have a new fine green hat." "Yes, indeed," answered the neighbor. "I looked a long time before I found the one I wanted." After a moment's chatting with Olele, he went on his way down the footpath. Olaye stopped his work and went to eat his lunch with his good friend Omotehi. And as they ate, Omotehi said, "Did you notice the fine new red hat our neighbor had?" "Red hat?" exclaimed Olaye. "My friend, you must have been a little bit dazzled by the sun." "What do you mean?" asked Omotehi. "It wasn't a red hat our neighbor was wearing. It was a green hat," explained Olale. And he smiled at his friend's mistake. "A green hat?" exclaimed Omotehi. "Oh, no, my friend, it was not green, it was red." "I know, for I remarked it to the neighbor." "And so did I," returned Oleye, become a little bit impatient. Omotehi, irritated by his friend's impatience, continued to argue that the hat was red, while Oleye, for his part, maintained that the hat was green. From words, the quarrel grew to blows, and Omotehi was still reeling from Olale's stout blout when their neighbor hurried toward them. "What's this?" he exclaimed. "You two fighting? I thought you were the best of friends. How can friends come to blows this way?" Olale and Omotehi, their excitement somewhat cooled by this interruption, stared at their neighbor. This time, Omotehi saw the green side of the hat, and Olale saw the red side. "Oh, my friend Omotehi," said Olale quickly, "you were right. After all, our neighbor's hat is red." "Oh, no," returned Omotehi earnestly. "I was wrong and you were right. I must be dazzled by the sun. And after all, our neighbor's new hat is green." Their difference of opinion would shortly have led to blows again if their neighbor had not laughed. Taking off his hat, he showed them the red side and then the green one. "Look here, my friends," he said. "You were both right about the hat, but you were both wrong about your friendship. You are not the best of friends if you cannot examine both sides of a question without anger, whether it be a hat or whether it be something more important." "You are right," declared Olale. "One never knows about a friendship until it has been put to a test. As for me, a hat can be either green or red. It doesn't matter, as long as I have my good friend, Omotehi." "No, nor does it matter to me," agreed Omotehi. And thenceforth the two were stronger friends than ever. So see both sides of the story, everybody.
Thank you. I like your tiara. Do you need help with her shoe? Oh, there you go. You got it. All right. Let's sing out the children. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may those papers we filled out that we wrote on without our names on them at the beginning of the service, and someone else is going to read them to themselves. We can share them out loud if you're so inclined, but fold it in half maybe and pass it to someone else, and then that person pass it to someone else, just so we get them mixed up a little and you don't necessarily know whose you have. Awesome.
Do you want to say something about this today, or shall we just save it for another time? Announcements for surprises.
Oh, that's a good point.
Anyway, I put it in front of you. Just think about it, and if it hits you, bring it into the message.
The next time before Joyce, I'll put it in the newsletter, but also before Joyce and Scott, so that people know this is awesome. So hopefully this way works. There's different ways to do this, collect them, redistribute them, we'll see. So in this congregation, in this community, we make one another brave. We give one another peace, and we hold the hope for one another. As theologian Paul Waddell says, hope has to be seen to be believed. It has to be made visible. It has to be something we can feel and that we can touch. We are called to be persons who embody hope for one another within these walls and outside these walls. We have to be each other's partners in hope. And this is our way of being partners in hope. You're holding someone else's struggle and their hope as well. So take a moment to read the words. You may or may not know who wrote them. That's fine. Ideally, you won't know who wrote them. This struggle and this hope could belong to the person you most admire in our community. They could belong to the person who annoys you the most in our community. Those words might have been written by the person, sitting in the same room as you or the other side. Just take those words in and offer up loving kindness to that person who wrote them, who made themselves vulnerable. And now I'd like everyone to repeat after me. We hold hope for each other. We hold hope for each other. And now please, you can take the piece of paper with you. You could put it somewhere you'll encounter it again a few times this week maybe. And when you do, imagine that unknown person and imagine their struggle and send them again your loving kindness. Keep holding the hope for them all week long. And if for any reason you don't feel the energy to do that, you don't feel up to that, you can give me your paper, you can return it into the basket, and so that I can hold their struggle and their hope in my own practice this week. So let us move forward to close the year and into the new year. Our lives and hearts interconnected in life-giving ways. Grateful for this community of vulnerability and of truth and of hope. And with that, please remain seated for our centering hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit This reading I found on the Forgiveness Project website years ago, actually, and it just moved me. And I'm talking about forgiveness today, and it's excerpts, there's more to it, from a conversation between Phyllis Rodriguez and Aisha El Wafi. So on September 11th, 2001, Phyllis Rodriguez's son, Greg, was killed in the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. The following year, Phyllis met Aisha El Wafi, whose son, Zacharias Moussaoui, had been charged with conspiracy in connection with that atrocity. I'm going to read what Phyllis is speaking in this interview. Phyllis says, returning from an early morning walk along the Bronx River, the porter in my building told me there had been a fire at the World Trade Center, and I hurried upstairs and I turned on both the TV and the answering machine. I was listening to a message from Greg saying there had been a terrible accident at the World Trade Center, but that he was all right. When I saw on television the second plane crash into the second tower, at that point I knew that it was no accident. But even so, I rang family and friends and I said, he called, he's okay. I assumed he was out of the building. Well, later that evening, then when there was still no word from him, I suspected the worst, but still I refused to believe it. In fact, I didn't take it in until the following evening when it was officially announced that he had perished along with 3,000 others. We were all devastated. And what made everything so much worse was the knowledge that the US government would use our son's name to take military action abroad. The day I met Aisha was the day that changed my life, because it changed my direction emotionally. It was the beginning of my learning that someone like Aisha, who had suffered so much, could still be emotionally generous. It brought out the generosity in me, and I felt better for it. Since then, I've learned that one way to heal is to bridge the gap between ourselves and the other. A Moroccan Muslim woman living in France and a secular Jewish woman living in the US are no different when it comes to suffering. It was an accident of history that brought us together. And it is an accident of history that means Zacharias is now in prison and my son died in the World Trade Center. It could have been the reverse. When Greg was killed, I thought, I will never forgive the people who murdered my son. But I have come to see forgiveness is more than a word. It's a context. It's a process. I don't forgive the act, but trying to understand why someone has acted in the way they have is part of the process of forgiving. Forgiveness is being able to accept another person for being human and being fallible. Since 2005, when Zacharias pleaded guilty to the conspiracy charges against him, I knew Aisha would be coming to America. And I decided I wanted to give her as much support as I could beforehand. So we started speaking on the phone. I couldn't speak a word of French at that time, but somehow we managed. Later, I continued supporting her in her campaign for the rights of her son, in the hope that someday he'll be transferred to France to serve out his sentence. Zacharias is an admitted member of Al-Qaeda, but there's no evidence that he knew anything about the attacks on the World Trade Center. He pleaded guilty either because he felt it would get him more humane conditions of confinement or because he was in no fit state to make any rational decisions. When I watched Zacharias at the trial, my heart was broken because I could not look at him as a stranger. I saw him as the son of my friend, Aisha. Meeting Aisha gave me strength, took away my anger and my bitterness. It has also helped me to forgive myself, because a mother always feels guilty when things don't go right for their children. That's a little bit of it. So, and then there's also a statement from Aika in that as well. So I've been with my own wife, my own spouse, for almost 30 years. So I have quite a bit of experience with forgiveness, especially asking for it. So today I'd like to consider forgiveness more broadly as we go into the new year. The economist, Dr. Unitarian did a study in Sierra Leone. This was a country that had a very bloody war from 1991 to 2002. And Dr. Dubé sought to learn how we can restitch the fabric of society in the aftermath of war. Very important. In Sierra Leone, guerrilla fighters used horrific methods to destroy community connections. They would threaten one neighbor with harm or death unless that person hurt or killed another neighbor. In Sierra Leone, Dr. Dubé met two people, Sar and Yuma. They were neighbors in a small village. Oh, you guys should turn this on. Is it on now? Oh, okay. Sorry. So, in Sierra Leone, Dr. Dubé met Sar and Yuma. They were neighbors and they were lifelong friends. The guerrilla fighters of Sierra Leone told Yuma, they told him, you have to beat your friend Sar, or else those guerrilla fighters would beat him. And he said, no, I refuse. So the guerrilla fighters told Yuma he had to kill Sar's father, or they would kill him. And he did. I do not retell this story to pass judgment. My status, my identity, my privilege of where I was born means I almost certainly will never have to make an ethical decision of that magnitude, hopefully. What Dr. Dubé asked was, how, when that war ended, did Sar and Yuma reconcile? If they did, and how did they did? They didn't have the resources to just get up and move to another town, nor did they want to. This was both of their homes. So how can they continue to as neighbors, living in peace when one killed the father of the other? Our first UU principle requires reverence and respect for human nature. Well, Yuma's life was threatened by the guerrillas. He had a family, and he knew without a doubt that those guerrillas would not hesitate to kill him if he didn't kill Sar's father. Yuma was reacting as a human being, genuinely terrified for his life and his family. And regardless of his actions, he has no less inherent worth and dignity than you or I. So humanizing someone who commits violence doesn't mean we don't punish the violence. It doesn't mean we don't protect future victims of an abuser, for instance. It doesn't preclude consequences and punishment and justice. What humanizing does is open space for compassion and for empathy, for rehabilitative justice, for justice that turns a bad thing into as good of a thing as it can be turned into. As our second principle states plainly, justice is inseparable from equity and compassion in all human relations. The author, Dr. Bell Hooks, writes, "For me, forgiveness and compassion are always linked. How do we hold people accountable for wrongdoing and yet at the same time remain in touch with their humanity enough to believe in their capacity to be transformed?" is the question Bell Hooks asks, and that we should be asking. Forgiveness Forgiveness, what it means, essentially, is giving up on principle the right to revenge. If someone hurts me, I have the right to take revenge, but I know that that will only engender hate rather than peace. I know exacting revenge is neither punitive nor preventative of more harm. In fact, sometimes the opposite. So on principle, in order to live my Unitarian Universalist values, I choose to give up that right for revenge. Forgiveness for me means deciding no longer to be defined by the act that hurt me, to no longer be broken by victimhood. And I'm not offering this to say that forgiveness is either easy or quick or even possible sometimes. It's not easy or quick. When we get angry, our limbic systems light up, and plus forgiveness involves the painful task of revisiting a hurt. But I know that for me, only if I am willing to safely and intentionally confront my own trauma can I move on from and can I be in control of it rather than it controlling me. And there's another great reason to forgive. Science tells us, studies have shown that forgiveness equals less stress, equals less anxiety, and overall better health. So let's return to Sierra Leone for a moment. See what happened. Sar and Yuma had to come back into community after this terrible, violent war. It's where they lived. They had no other place. Forgiving each other was, I would say, necessary to do this. So they participated in a ritual practice called fambul talk, or family talk in English. Their community, this ritual practice, entailed their community forming a circle, and the people who committed these heinous crimes were required to fully confess and ask for apologies. It was a requirement. But a covenant was established that no one could be convicted, punished, or even prosecuted, no matter how heinous the crime. So it opened it up for them to say what they did. And physical altercations, fights, were also forbidden in this ritual. Even if the victim didn't accept the apology, and they didn't have to, that wasn't required. What they were required to do was to listen without fighting. And they went on and they did this. People confessed and the others listened. Some accepted apologies, some didn't. A month after the fambul talk ritual, their community became much more forgiving in many other little things too. Dr. Dubé studied this. Dr. Dubé witnessed the ability to forgive grow over months after this ritual. Social ties reemerged. New ones started to form. People joined forces to build clinics and build schools. There was still pain, of course, but they were able to witness each other as humans who were all hurt by this war. So what am I saying? We should go out and forgive murderers and violence, or that we should let down our guard? No. Much of society has come to the conclusion that grudges and retribution somehow lead to closure. Our government too. It's all about retribution, but they don't lead to closure. Holding guns to each other's heads, much of our society believes that the holding guns to each other's head, as long as nobody is firing, is equivalent to being in a state of peace. We're facing weapons at each other, and so that's a state of peace, as long as no one's firing. But I don't agree with that. I believe that forgiveness provides lasting closure and peace. So what I'm humbly asking is that we all work to cultivate a stronger ability to forgive for the sake of all humanity. The author and Nobel laureate Toni Morrison writes about survivors and forgiveness. She writes, the really vile and violent and bestial treatment of slaves and their descendants did not succeed in making those descendants reproduce that violence and that corruption and that bestiality. In a contemporary example, Morrison references the mass shooting on June 17th, 2015 in Charleston, South Carolina, in which 9 African Americans were killed during a Bible study at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. The survivors, she writes, and the family members who were killed in that church did not say of the killer, I want him dead. It was something grander, and it was something more humane. It was eloquent and elegant, the response of forgiveness. We sometimes understand that generosity as a kind of we sometimes understand that generosity is a kind of weakness, whereas, this is what Toni Morrison writes, whereas I always thought that that was extreme strength. The Buddhist monk Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, author of Being Black, Zen, and the Art of Living with Fearlessness and Grace, wrote a piece called Threading Anger Through Love. We can, she wrote, have fierce responses that begin from a place of anger about injustices and pain that are greater than any person or community should have to bear. But when we anchor that anger in love and allow ourselves to also be cognizant of the suffering that we are experiencing as a result of our loss and our pain and the injustice, then we get back again to that place that doesn't want anyone to suffer like we are. She continues, so when yet another black child or teenager or young person is killed, the response should absolutely be fierce. But if it's rooted in love, and that love is connected with a deep touching into our suffering, whatever the reaction, there's no wish for destruction of life or for the suffering of others. Love has a wish for the deconstruction of that which is false and that which harms. The nuance is challenging because anger is a fire energy, she writes, and it often burns so hot we're not able to see through into love. Myself, speaking as a white, straight male, and all the privilege that affords me, I also must be accountable and offer repair for the society from which I benefit without ever asking for any quid pro quo, even in the form of forgiveness. Reverend Kyoto Williams says most eloquently what I have stumbled to express. She writes, I would like to believe that if I were directly touched in a material way by these injustices, that having a practice and an understanding that arises out of that practice would enable me to root my anger in love. But I cannot imagine or speak to what it means for people that haven't had that practice and have had that kind of injustice. I can speak from the seat of comfort and privilege, but I'm not prepared to denounce in any way what it does to the human psyche, the human heart, when your humanity has been denied. Given all of that, this morning I'm only going to offer a suggestion that I will also require of myself. It is not as extreme as fumble talk, but probably further than I've gone in a while to build my forgiveness muscle. In the middle of my next argument, and I know there will be one, I'm going to stop. And I ask you to do the same. Don't worry, we're going to get back to arguing. Just stop for a moment. We're still going to win. I'm going to really think about, when I stop, the other person empathetically. I'm going to attempt compassion for what they're feeling, and I'm going to forgive them unconditionally, even without them asking for it. I'll likely remain hurt, and the argument might begin again, but what I hope will also happen is the contention will be reframed through the lens of empathy and compassion and will take a different direction. I think we'll be able to move on to a process of true healing. We may not even want to go back to arguing at all after this. Who knows? Simply put, it's a fact that hatred, anger, and indifference cannot exist in the same heart where there is empathy, compassion, and love. So going into this new year, may we all build our forgiveness muscle so that the world can become more empathetic and compassionate and loving. And if I don't see you before the new year, have a happy new year.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope. We are now the keepers of the dream. Please wait for the ushers to come to collect your offertory for today. Thank you. Well, we could say our affirmation of gratitude for your offertory and for that lovely piece of music we were just gifted. Please join me in the affirmation of gratitude. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we can experience the generosity of others.
And now, please rise in body or spirit if you are able, and as you are able. And if you'd like, hold each other's hands as we extinguish our chalice. This beloved community is dedicated to the proposition that within all our differences, in all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one, a bond that holds us together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We rise in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Ashe. Shalom. Salam. Namaste. And blessed be. And
Now our service truly begins.
I think we have a lovely postlude if you would stay seated for it.
best seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And